so much for explaining that. At least it was a lot clearer now to me and to our audience, what the different stages of sleep and what happens in those stages. So I'm going to go straight to the next question, which is, so we've talked about sleep. We know it's important. We know it's essential and all that, and we know its role because you're educating us about it. So I now find that I have a problem sleeping, for example. So somebody say, for example, they say that they have a problem sleeping. They now have trouble sleeping. It never used to be that way before, but now they have that problem. Can you talk about how that can be, how that can happen? So they were never having problems sleeping before, but all of a sudden now they seem to be having problems. They can't quite make that up. Could there be factors that could cause that, or is that something that you would say you see as a specialist, in sleep medicine?
Yes, that's a very big question, though. And the reason why I say so is most people complain about sleep as they get older.
Right.
So when we were in our teens, we probably didn't think about sleep. We just slept, and we like sleeping a lot. Mm-hmm. So it's not unusual to go to bed at 1 o'clock and wake up at 12, especially during the holidays. And that's normal. That's a physiologic. That's normal physiologically. When people begin to notice troubles with sleeping, it can be, and I'm trying to. It could be one based on the gender. So males, females. It also depends on the age. So in general, as we get older, we have changes in metabolism, we have hormone changes, life happens, work happens, and we try to respond as best as we can to these changes. Now, insomnia is the most common sleep problem by far. Almost 95% of my patients will have insomnia. So that's the most common one. Troubles and insomnia is when you have troubles falling asleep, staying asleep, or waking up too early. That's how I would say that's what I would call insomnia. And having an overall feeling of non-restorative sleep. So if someone says it takes me 3 hours to fall asleep, I see that patient differently from someone who says I have no troubles falling asleep, I just can't stay asleep. That's a different type of problem. And I have someone who says I wake up 3 hours before my normal waking time. I think of it differently because they're different, and that's why I said it was a big question, because I could go into directions with that. So
yes.
So so I want to say, if I talk about troubles falling asleep, usually we want to look at things that have to do with the patient's lifestyle, sleep hygiene issues, stress issues, something happened. Maybe there's something on their mind. There's disagreements, marital stress, financial stress, something that is just making it hard for you to calm. And sometimes what you might need to do in this case will be to begin to look at, what, and that's what I will do in an evaluation. I'll try to tease out, are there any new worries, lifestyle changes? I want to look at your sleep habits. I want to see how you're feeding, caffeinated products, coffee, do you eat at night, when do you exercise, do you have sleep habits? Do you wake up, do you go to bed regularly? What do you have in bed? What's in your bedroom? How do you use your bedroom? Is your bedroom your office? Do you take your computer to sleep at night? So there are a lot of questions like that will make me, just to get a sense of what you do, habits, your sleep habits. Then from there, I move on to looking at other things like whether you have restless legs at night, your legs bother you at night, you have pain, there's anxiety, and other stuff like that. Now, there are other issues that people would have as well as they get older is snoring. And I want to talk about
Yes,
snoring
yes,
because
yes.
people think, oh my goodness, he's snoring. He's enjoying his sleep. Oh my goodness, it means he's deep in sleep when he snores. He's enjoying his sleep. However, snoring is an indicator of a problem. It means there's an obstruction somewhere.
Wow.
That's why you snore.
Okay.
So you can either have a nasal obstruction, maybe you have a cold, you have a nasal, you're congested, then you open your mouth, become a mouth breather temporarily, or you snore because you're having intermittent opening and closing of your airway, which means maybe your tongue is kind of blocking your airway as you're
Okay.
sleeping. And that also
Yes.
tends to happen as we tend to gain weight. So we get, we're older, have a
Mm.
bit of midsection, we have a bit of a bigger neck. And usually if someone snores, measure the neck size. If it's more than 17 inches for a woman and 18 for a man, that's a problem. If you do that,
Right.
you can
Wow.
say that this person is probably at risk of having sleep apnea. If this person now tells you that, you know what, when I wake up in the mornings, I never feel refreshed. I could sleep for 10 hours. It just seems
Mm.
that there's something. I'm not feeling it.
Mm.
That person may have sleep apnea. You may have to ask,
Right.
what is sleep apnea? Sleep apnea means that
Mm.
when you sleep, you stop breathing. Now, how do you know you stop
Ooh.
breathing? You know you stop breathing because your spouse or or whoever your bed partner is will tell you that you were snoring and suddenly you stop for a few seconds and you started again.
Okay.
Or when you were
Wow.
asleep, you made this choking or gasping sound and you
Yes,
started.
yes.
It was like a stop and start, and you do it all the time at night. Now, if someone has that,
Mm.
that is fairly indicative of the fact that you may have sleep apnea, especially when you have other symptoms like fatigue during the daytime. You feel like
Mm.
you're sleepy. If you sit down for a few minutes, you're most likely drowsy. You're falling asleep in
Mm.
church. You can't talk to your spouse for 5 minutes, boom, you're out. And she thought you were listening
Mm.
to the conversation. Those are telltale signs that you need to get that evaluated because sleep apnea is a risk factor for strokes, sudden death, high blood pressure,
Wow.
diabetes.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that's serious. Now,
Wow.
another reason, another sleep issue that we can, when you say your sleep changes is age. Now, as women begin to hit when women hit 40s, their 40s, and they begin to get perimenopausal,
Mm.
most women know that, okay, stuff can start happening. They're
Mm.
putting on weight. They don't know why. They never used to put on weight, but they're putting on weight more. Or then now they're
Mm.
snoring more. Or now they notice that they're having flushes. They notice that their sleep
Mm.
is, they tend not to sleep as well. They're waking up more often. Or they say, I'm a light sleeper. I
Yes.
heard you go to the
Yeah.
bathroom last night. I heard you go to the bathroom. And that's
Mhm.
because your sleep is getting light. Why is that happening? The reason why that is happening is as you begin to hit perimenopause or menopause, your estrogen levels and progesterone levels begin to drop. Now, before it
Mm.
really drops to really low levels, the brain begins to sense that there's a change in the hormone levels here. So,
Mm.
as estrogen begins to drop, the brain begins to have this problem with temperature control, right? Then you
Mm.
begin to have hot flashes. And because you
Yes.
have hot flashes, the body tries to take care of that hot flash. Then you begin to have sweats.
Yes. Yes.
The hot
Yeah.
flashes don't make you sleep well. You wake up at night. You had you wake up at night and you say, well, I guess I'm going through menopause and it's normal. Well, our parents probably thought it was normal, but now we kind of don't think it's normal because if you don't sleep
Mm.
well, it means you're not going to have you won't have good health. And it also
Yes.
there's research has shown that perimenopausal or menopausal women have a higher risk of sleep apnea than their younger counterparts. So
Wow.
even though most women, I could tell you one thing, most of my female patients, when I'm asking them
Mm.
about snoring, oh, I don't snore. I don't snore. Many women never snore. but their husbands would tell me she does snore. And again, sometimes some people will have sleep apnea without severe snoring. maybe some minimal snoring. So one has to really get tested for that. So hormone levels can impair your sleep continuity, meaning that
Right.
ability to stay asleep through the night once your hormone levels drop. So sometimes in certain patients, sometimes we do some hormonal work, or sometimes we use herbal sometimes to help, treat those symptoms because I mean they're going through the change. It's the body's,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
body's. So that's another reason why my goodness, my sleep is changing. I never used to be like this before. Yeah, and that just means that that's an age related thing. Other things will be nutritional. A good example is especially for people who drink a lot of coffee. Lots of people like Starbucks. We drink coffee a lot. Coffee has been known to actually affect your magnesium levels.
Okay.
Magnesium, is a very, is an element.
Essential.
It's a mineral.
Essential. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a mineral. It's very good for muscle relaxation. It reduces muscle tone. It helps with anxiety. It helps with sleeping. When I treat patients for stress, it's usually one of my regimens that I usually would recommend because it helps the body relax.
Yeah.
Too much coffee, you lose magnesium. Magnesium makes you more anxious. Lack of magnesium makes you more anxious, makes you have more insomnia. So sometimes nutritional deficiencies, especially if you're not taking a good multivitamin, or if you're not eating a healthy diet, or you're not processed. I mean, you're not really doing whole grain foods, and you're doing a lot of processed foods and all that. You will not get a lot of this minerals that you need to help you with sleep. So I just wanted to just touch on that as well. That nutritional factors as well can affect your ability to relax, ability to fall asleep naturally.
Yes.
So and lastly, before I stop, is mood disorders. Anxiety and depression very prevalent in our community. Anxiety will affect you. Trouble will affect you falling asleep. It will affect you staying asleep. It will, and depression as well affects you falling asleep, staying asleep, waking up too early. If someone tells me that they wake up too early, my ears, my antenna goes up, and I need to start asking questions about stress, about being depressed, because that can also be a telltale sign that you're beginning to develop a mood disorder affecting your sleep.
Wow.
So, I guess in a nutshell, that's how I will try to.
Yeah. Wow. That's very, 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 very detailed. It's an eye opener, and I think I'm glad because you really went into detail and you covered a vast area. So you covered snoring and everything, all those different areas, menopause, and life changes and anxiety and coffee, drinking coffee and both coffee and tea. I guess tea also has, some caffeine in it. So all those type of things. So your diet also affects it. So our very last question is, because we only got a few more minutes to wrap this up, is what do I need to do to sleep better? So are there any solutions that can help us to make sure we sleep better? Are there good practices that we can follow? What do we do to find that we have a problem like insomnia, for example, or sleep apnea, or you just find that you're not well rested. You wake up in the morning and you feel like you haven't actually really slept, even though your eyes were closed and you were in bed for like 8 hours. So are there any solutions that you can suggest? For best practice.
Thank you. I would think that the self-help is, initially, I think trying to identify, whatever stressors that might be in your life. Secondly, looking at your sleep habits. I think it's very important to establish certain landmarks with sleeping. One, your bedtime, your wake time.
Right.
You
Right.
have to keep your wake time near normal. You want to keep your bedtime as constant as possible.
Right.
Now, you don't want to vary your bedtime 2 hours, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. If you're doing that, then that's probably one of the problems that makes this even worse. So have
Right.
a regular sleep and wake time. Have a bedtime routine. You need to have a
Okay.
bedtime routine. It sounds, when I see a lot of patients and I start talking about this, it's like, okay, it's common sense. Like, oh yeah, I know that. It's common sense. I know that. It's common sense.
But we don't do it. But we
People
don't
don't
do
do
it.
it. But people don't do it. So I always challenge people that, you know what, I can fix most sleep troubles in 2 weeks, especially that has to do with insomnia. I need two. So I tell you, just give me 2 weeks, please. Just do 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I get them to have a sleep diary. People use Fitbits these days. I don't really think that's as accurate, but people use Fitbit to kind of track their sleep. But I always ask people to get a sleep diary, which you can get, you can Google sleep diary and just, I like it, the old paper and pen,
Yeah.
wake up the next morning,
Yeah.
just try to get a sense of how many hours you're sleeping, how many times you're waking up
Yes.
in the middle of the night. I think that's important. Also, having a sense of going to bed when you are sleepy, you know, going to bed when you are sleepy. Now, don't go to bed because I understand if your spouse's bedtime is, they feel naturally sleepy at 9 p.m., but you
Hmm.
feel naturally sleepy at 10 p.m., 10:30 p.m. Really, that your bedtime is not the same. Now,
Mm.
it means that if you go to bed together, one person will be asleep before the other. The other person
Yes.
is likely doing some unhealthy sleep habit, maybe on their phone, maybe checking
Yeah.
their email, maybe reading
Hmm.
for too long. Reading in bed is fine, 15, 20 minutes is fine. If you're now reading for an hour in your bedroom, you probably need to go to the study
Right.
because you want to keep your bedroom for sleeping. Your
Right.
bedroom should be that place, that hallowed place for sleeping. You
Mm.
need to get into your bedroom when you're sleepy. Your bedroom should be conducive in terms of the temperature. If you're into
Hmm.
smells or aromatherapy and stuff like that, some people use oils.
Mm.
Some people like to use music, relaxation music. Some
Mm.
people also would, anything that could enhance you to reduce the anxiety or stress tone from the day.
Mm.
You need to,
Yes.
and you have to know what works for you because things don't work for everyone. Some people don't like to do yoga. Some people don't like to listen to music.
Yes.
You have
Yeah.
to know what works for you, and you have to experiment with different things to kind of know
Mm.
what works. You have to be intentional with the
Mm.
stress. So if you have something that bothers you, that is really on your mind, I always suggest to
Mm.
my patients, why don't you journal? Write down stuff before you come to the bedroom. Don't journal in the bedroom. Really, be in your living
Mm.
room. If something's really bothering you, especially if something that has to do with your relationship with your spouse, why don't you try talking about that before you go to bed? If there's something
Right.
about the kids, why don't you talk about the kids? Whatever issue it is, try to
Yes.
think through it intentionally. Try
Yes.
to get off your worry list, write it
Hmm.
down, because you've thought about it, you've written it down, have an
Mm.
action plan, then,
Mm.
go to bed when you are sleepy. If you start to do all this in bed, or you're worrying in your head, you're thinking in your mind, you can't sleep, then you're gonna have a difficult night. Now,
Mm.
so going to bed when you're sleepy, and if you can't sleep for more than 30 minutes, get out of your bedroom. How do I know when
Right.
it's how do I know, am I going to watch the clock? I don't want you watching the clock, but you would
Well, you
know
know.
when you
You
would know,
know.
my goodness, okay, I'm here, I'm still awake. You would know that it's
Yeah.
longer than your usual sleep time. You would know. Once it's that you've hit
Mm.
that, leave the bedroom, go to another
Hmm.
part of the house.
Yes.
Don't put off a soft light. Try to read something boring. I read
Yeah.
medical journals. They put me to sleep. But look for something boring and not something that's going to engage your brain.
Yes.
Try
Yes.
to read something. Don't get into trying to be on your computer, or avoid
Yeah.
blue light from the computer or from your iPhones.
Yes.
You don't need that.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
to turn off your melatonin production. You need
Right.
to, you know.
Wow.
So then once you feel sleepy again, your eyelids are getting heavy, then you go back
Mm.
to the bed. If you can't sleep for more than 30 minutes, you do that. So it's going to be back and forth. And I know it sounds very, especially when it gets cold and everyone wants to be under warm, comfy, blanket and all that. It's just what we have to do to kind of retrain the brain that the bed is for sleeping. Awake and being alert is for any other part of the house.
Okay.
So that's what that I always talk about. But as I say, your wake time is important, and the reason why that's important is if you didn't sleep well during the night, and you try to get up at about the same time, what is going to happen is that you're going to be very tired that morning. You'll be very tired, and understand that. You're going to be cranky, understand that. But I want you to utilize this sleep pressure that will begin to develop from the morning, which means that you wake up tired, your body wants to sleep because it didn't sleep well the previous night. You're not going to try to nap because you don't want to dissipate that sleep pressure. You want that pressure to build 10 o'clock in the morning, noon, 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 5 p.m. And that sleep pressure to build, and you're not going to go to bed at 7. You're going to try to keep your sleep time about the same. So if you're 10 o'clock, I want you to struggle to stay awake closer to your bedtime. Once you hit that bed, you're more likely to fall asleep because you've built up so much sleep pressure and maintaining your sleep routines, and your brain understand the cues that you continue to give it. So that is those are advice I would give in terms of habits and having to frame your sleep wake. Also, your food is important too.
Sorry, no, go on. Yeah, go
on. Your foods are important as well.
Yes.
Anti-inflammatory diets are great. You can Google I don't go into that, but anti-inflammatory diets or foods. Anti-inflammatory foods is what I meant to say. That's helpful. It reduces secretion of all this bad neurotransmitters and all that. So
so I think we have to wrap things up now because we're out of time. But I just wanted to ask something, a question that's on my mind that you could probably just answer in maybe 2 lines or other 3 sentences. It's normally said that if you want to, one of the best sleep practices is to, especially if you're trying to make sure that your sleep pattern doesn't affect your weight gain, is to go to bed, not to go to bed too late. So you want to be going to bed. Now, I just wanted to clarify if this is a myth or if it's irrelevant. So you want to be going to bed. You want to be going to bed a bit earlier. So when I say earlier, maybe about 10ish, maximum 10, rather than going to bed about 1 a.m. or 12 midnight and all that. And then you want to be waking up. So from about 10, maybe sleep for about 8 hours or I don't know, 6 or 7 hours, and then wake up at that time. Obviously, you're setting a pattern, but rather than staying up till quite late, like 12 midnight or 1 a.m. or 11:30, you want to be going to bed as early as possible, as is reasonable for you. Obviously, you've had your dinner maybe about 6 o'clock or 6:30 or 7. Maybe you give yourself 3 hours for the food to kind of like digest or whatever. And then you want to be hitting the sack maybe about 10 o'clock. Is that true, or is that just a myth? Is it irrelevant? You really have to go to bed that early, or could you,
I think it all depends on your sleep clock, really. I think most people tend to go to bed between 9 and midnight. Most people fall in that quadrant. Sleeping later, like 1 o'clock, obviously most people don't do that. And people who do that, again, we have people who are night owls, and there are people who are night owls. There are people who are genetically wired to be night owls. Again, that's a different topic. But for by and large, though, I think you go with your sleep clock temporarily for maybe exams or tests or some certain reasons you have to stay up. That temporary basis, that's acceptable. But I don't think making a practice of being short on sleep is good, because if you're having less than 7.5 hours, you're actually shortchanging your system, and it's healthy.
Fantastic. Excellent. So yeah, so it's obviously applying common sense, making sure you go to bed as early as you can, and just being reasonable about it. Obviously, if you've got a project and you need to stay a bit late yet, then obviously don't make it a practice. Excellent. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for answering all our questions. I think you've done a lot of good justice to this. You've really gone into in-depth, and this is going to be on the channel for people to watch over and over again. If you want to, obviously, I'm going to do a timeline on this video so you can know what aspects of the video talks about certain aspects of the questions that you may find especially very more relevant to you, because there's a wealth of information in here that you've just downloaded to us. And yeah, I guess we'll keep going back to it just to make sure we remember those things that you've said, so that we can make sure we have a good sleep practice, and healthy sleeping patterns as well, because that would obviously contribute to our overall health. So thank you so much for your time and for going to all this this depth of detail. We're so grateful. We know you're a very busy man, and we know that God will bless you as you've sacrificed your time to be a blessing to people who need to know these things, because people just probably some people go by Google or just by hearsay, but now we're hearing from an expert who's told us. So we have no excuse. We've got to get the balance right. And, that will really help us. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much, subscribers, for watching this video. Very informative. Please come back for more. Don't forget, if you haven't subscribed yet and you're just watching the video, make sure you click on the subscribe button, and also make sure you like the video and share it with family and friends. Thank you for your continued support on this channel. God bless you real good. And always remember that this channel's focus is you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. When you depend on God and you take your own, and you also play your own part, because the Bible says faith without works is dead. When you play your own part by doing what you're supposed to do, to eat right, to exercise right, and to sleep right, you have a well-rounded, healthy lifestyle, and you're also you're fit and you're healthy. You'll be able to live a fuller life and enjoy your life, and be of use to yourself, to your family, and obviously to the kingdom of God. So thank you so much, Dr. Yemi, for coming once again, and hopefully we'll bring you back for another topic someday soon when I can get hold of you, because I know you're very difficult to get hold of. But thank you so much for your time. God bless you real good, and have a good evening. Till next time. Thank you so much, and take care. God bless you. Thank you so much, viewers. God bless you all. Bye. All right. So